Hello, Planet Breakers! We're going to do some more Risk of Rain, and this is in the middle of a run because, believe me, this is not the first time I re-attempt working with the commando, trying to get to the end of the damn game. I am way too stubborn to give up on this, so I've been just hammering my head against Risk of Rain, trying to get that commando victory. I really have no idea why it's been so much harder than it was the first time around. I mean, I know why. Basically, I'm bad. I'm bad at this game, and that is why I've not been able to. And luckily, we get finally this guy actually spawned, so I can unlock the miner here. I am doing this commentary on post processing, by the way, because I did a lot of runs before I got to here. And finally, I got a run where I could unlock the freaking miner. I actually found this alcove before, but the guy didn't spawn. It was very bizarre, and I looked it up and everything, and it just says, yeah, this guy spawns there, and that's how you unlock the miner, which I just did. It's awesome. We're going to see some miner action in the next run. That's going to be great. And but for some reason it just didn't spawn for me the first time I found that alcove, and every other time that I've been in the magma barracks, that little path down there has not spawned for me, so that's unfortunate. But finally, we got that guy in there. As you can see, pretty good items, especially the starting items. They were really good. We got a double teddy bear. I mean, I'm carrying two teddy bears in my backpack. That is like the best safety blanket you could ask for. And then you got the healing tooth. I forget, it's like monster tooth, I think it's called. Ukulele, always an excellent item to do a lot more damage than your basic abilities. And some bleed, some slowing down enemies, not so useful, still useful, not terribly useful. And also has some speed, some medkits, really good setup. Also some passive, some passive, we got a toxic beast here. That is very fortunate as well. The cremator would have cremated my freaking anus. But luckily, also, something that actually carried a previous victorious run is the time stop. It is such a great item. Every time that it shows up, I don't even care if it gets monotonous to watch. Every time that time stop item shows up, I think it's called just a stopwatch or something like that, I'm going to stick with it every time, because time stop, it is OP right now in Risk of Rain. Is one of the most useful unused items you can have, possibly next to the heal item. That I don't think is as useful, because you can heal yourself a whole bunch of different ways, but stopping time at will, it's not something you can do very many other ways or at all. The only other time stop items there are is something that I have already, and that is the low health time stop. And then there is the freezing snow globe that randomly freezes enemies. Is not nearly as good as time stop. So yeah, the stopwatch is the one thing you want to always hold on to if you are very much focused on just beating the damn game. You're not trying to challenge yourself on anything. Risk of Rain, I feel it is just hard enough already without having to challenge yourself, and I would only go for challenge runs if I maybe get to the point where it's just boring to play the game in a vanilla. I have to say though, I do feel like Risk of Rain could get old a lot quicker than Spelunky would. The randomization is not nearly as much. There is a lot of downtime and looking around for items. That's an ongoing gripe that I've had. Ongoing gripe that I have with Risk of Rain. There's a lot of just wandering, looking for something to spend money on. Not my fondest feature of Risk of Rain, but still, it's not getting old for me anytime soon, honestly. And still actually have a few characters that I haven't even tried, and I'm very much curious about them. Mercenary and the Miner. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Some more time stop here is great. Awesome. And yeah, the boss is done. We are now just wiping up everything that is left in this area, and we have some money to spend, not a whole lot. but we're going to do that. And the Commando, no, you know, it's even with my success rate, it's still one of my favorite characters. It's really a well-rounded character. I'm not surprised at all that they give it to you to start with, because it has all the tools you need to deal with every type of enemies. It has the dodge, the regular attack, the piercing attack, and then the fast knockback attack. Pretty well-rounded order all around. But I'll probably stay away from the Commando for a very long time if I've managed to snag a victory here, which, you know, I already know how this ends, but you don't. Suspense! Man, ramping up the tension right there. You're at the edge of your seat right now, wondering what might happen at the end, but of course you don't want to skip forward because that would be cheating. I'm sure you know already how this ends. Why else would I post it after failing at so many other runs? Well, there is a really good reason to post, and that is that I unlocked the miner. That in itself, I think, warrants a bit of a success in Risk of Rain, because I've been trying to do that for quite a while now, and I believe if I had not looked that up, there is absolutely no way I would have known ever that there is a passageway down there. Maybe at some point I would have fallen down there, but the lava, I avoided like it's plagued. I avoid it like it's full of really hot stuff that burns you. That is how I avoid lava. Like you can tell right here, I just really don't want to be in this area, so that's why I jumped down into the pool of burning hot magma. But there are some enemies, so there's nothing I can do about it. So yeah, we're just simply looking for those enemies. These guys just have so much health. Yet another gripe of Risk of Rain. Too much health on the enemies. If you want to make it more challenging, I would rather have more enemies with less health. It just becomes such a grind to just whittle down at the enemies. It's like, oh. But then of course, you know, you have to. I'm sure it was tough, and it still is tough trying to patch the game. Balancing that, because you can get a run with an insane amount of damage and then you just wheeze through everything without. Wow, I'm just failing completely to grab onto that rope. You can just sail through the playthrough with the right items and be threatened by nothing. This freaking spider has been a total pain in my ass. So yeah, I am sure that it was a really tough act to balance Risk of Rain so that it's not too easy, it's not too hard. I'm sure they erred on the side of let's make it as hard as we can get away with, but I mean, I'm sure it could have been a lot harder to the point that it's impossible. But of course then nobody will play it. Then again, people play Dark Souls, so what the hell do I know? Dark Souls, man, what an awesome game. I think I already say this, I spent like over 100 hours in Dark Souls. Got to the middle of a New Game Plus, and I was like, what's the point? It's all the same. It's just a little harder monsters, more health. This is actually a really good item. It creates a mirror image, a ghost of all the enemies on screen. It's an item that can actually carry you through all the way to the end boss, but I decided to keep my time stop here because the time stop, I figured it is so freaking useful against Providence. In the Providence fight, it makes it so much easier. It doesn't work with worms, something I discovered earlier, and I completely forgot for this run, and then I rediscovered again for this run. But it's stopping all those enemies is just so freaking useful. It's incredibly useful. We got lucky here with the double item, but Snake Eye is not the best item I could have possibly gotten. Still though, it's nice to get something out of the shrines whenever you fail to get something out of it. So now I'm just gathering a bunch of money and looking for that teleporter. Standard fare for every level of Risk of Rain. I almost say teleglitch. I'm so used to talking about teleglitch. I love teleglitch. I love playing teleglitch. I love breathing teleglitch. Teleglitch is my freaking lifeblood. But this is Risk of Rain, which is also awesome. Abusing that time stop like there's no tomorrow, and there might not be if I don't abuse the time stop, so I don't feel guilty about it in the slightest. Risk of Rain forces you to use absolutely every single resource that you have at your fingertips. And you know something I've noticed? My success rate is kind of related to the amount of drones I carry at a given time. I have to say that without drones, I have a pretty low success rate, I have to admit, and you know, that kind of tells me that I'm not as good as I should be at this game, but I'm doing my best. Some people just don't have the ability to be any better than they actually are, and you can't really blame them for that, can you? No, well, I'm sure you can blame them for that, but you'll be wrong. Excuse me. I'm just getting some really bad coughing fits. And I will drink some water to assuage that, but I am completely out of water and I don't want to interrupt this for anything. No interruptions whatsoever. Getting pretty lucky with these, although I did not get any of that out of that. But that's okay, 2 out of 3 is really not bad when you consider how awful my fortune has been where shrines are related. There's times where I've played a shrine like 10 times and I just get nothing out of it. Terrible, and this was possibly the most bizarre spot that the teleporter could have been in. We're going to make it work. I am not afraid of anything. Nothing stands in my way between me and Providence and his death. Except maybe 20,000 monsters trying to rip my flesh from my bones. And here we have a little platform of madness over there that there's no freaking way I can stand on. So the strategy that we're going to use here is wait for that time stop to be available, which is, it is 99. I'm going to use it right here, and just destroy the crap out of this area, get away with as much damage as I can, and then just flee! Dodge the hell out of that place, because I bet you it is, if not insta-death, very close to it if I hang around there. And unfortunately we don't have infusion in this run. I think I made all the way to the end without it. Before dying in this run, did not have infusion. Or did I die? Dun dun dun, mysterious. But we do have some really decent damage in this run, and that is something that is extremely important towards the success of your run. I mean, you want your healing items, of course, but if you are doing crap damage, the enemies will just whittle you down. There's just nothing much you can do about it. You need to have that firepower. Yet another. This is not really a gripe. It is something that I would rather was not the case. But you can make the case for it being perfectly fine for a game to have that mechanic, and that is being so random. Like a game like Spelunky. It can give you a nightmare of a seed, and you can still make it all the way to the end if you're good enough, if you get lucky. Or not get lucky, if you are cautious and if you know what you're doing, or you happen to make it to the end, you can. But there is a very good chance that you are completely unable to finish Ricks of Rain because you just did not get the good items that you needed. And that is a truth of roguelikes in general that I am okay with. It's perfectly fine, you do runs, it's part of the fun of the game. The items that you get is really not a big deal. But honestly, as a from a game design standpoint, I would rather you always had that chance to beat the game. And I guess technically you do have the chance to beat the game no matter what, even without items. Technically you can get away with maybe spending 30 hours in a single game of Risk of Rain and make it all the way to the end, but let's say that you're very unlikely to get that victory without the right items. And this is also the same with Binding of Isaac, perhaps to a lesser extent than Risk of Rain does it. Maybe it's more exacerbated with Risk of Rain. Needing those items. Man, it looks like I left an enemy all the way down the bottom, so that's going to be quite a time waster. Let's go all the way down, and here's a guy. And I also have to spend all this money. There's so much money in my bank, I'm not going to leave with 5,000 gold. I guess they are dollars, they have the dollar sign. But I only see coins there. I don't think those are quarters. So really, I don't know how to call it. Let's just call it gold. They are yellow in the icon, so yeah, it's gold. I'm hanging on to that assessment. But like I'm saying, Risk of Rain, very random. I guess if you spend long enough, you can get enough items like revisiting previous levels and the type of stuff. But even then, you might run into a situation, especially when you revisit a previous level, it becomes so freaking hard to get through that level. You might not get the items that you need anyway. And right here, we're just looking for some chests to spend money on. But if I recall correctly, there is nothing. There's 1 or 2 chests that I found, and I have to leave the level with like 3,000 gold. Is really, really sad. And yet another gripe for Risk of Rain. The imbalance of having tons of money, I can't spend it. At least we got the Brilliant Behemoth, which makes everything explode. That is great, great item. Makes splash damage on your every shot. That is such a great item. Yeah, I was saying, oh yeah, that imbalance of having tons of money and I have nothing to spend it, and then the next run, there's 20,000 chests and I have no money to spend on anything. Well, I mean, you can always have money because there's enemies and you can farm them, I suppose. I guess that will be the case where you stay a little bit longer in the level, make some farming effort, especially if you're pretty close to the end of the difficulty ramp. It does make sense to farm a little bit to be able to afford all this good stuff that spawned in your level. Again, it's not really a gripe, because I understand it's a roguelike. The randomization is part of the mechanics. It's just the fun of discovering, okay, what might happen in this run. Still, though, much rather it not be nearly as prominent. Something that can make or break your run is just how many items you find and how many items you can afford. There's a completely worthless boosted experience. Luckily this time I managed to press the right button. Now that is an outright gripe. Please make the button that goes to the last level be the same button that you always press. I never want to revisit levels. I don't want to make my run any longer than it has to be. And I don't mean that it's not fun to play this game, but part of the fun of the game is getting to the end. And especially if I have a chance, and we have some cool explosions here. That's another really nice part that I like about this weapon. It makes all your shots be badass. It's so freaking yeah. That's me acting out the explosions in the game. Like I was saying something about other complaints that I have that I'm sure you're all about hearing. I forget. Anyway, we got some really pricey chests here that I'm not even going to try to get because it's so hard to backtrack in this ship. Enemies are spawning all over the place all the time. They do a ton of damage. Oh yeah, I was saying about going back. The teleporter, the key that you use to go to the next level in the teleporter, it changes. It shouldn't. Please make the weird path that you would take be the one that you change the key on. Please, because I've gotten myself killed so many times revisiting a different level that I did not want to do. So yeah, and that's, it's my fault for not reading the damn prompt and hitting the key, but you get into the groove of things, you just want to get through it right away, especially because the time clock is ticking. You want to get to the last level before you get to that awful difficulty, and that is something that is perfectly doable in many situations. Many runs I've had, if you do it fast enough, you can actually get to the end without having to cope with the maximum difficulty level. So that's a vibe. I think it's a legitimate gripe, and it's really a minor thing. You just have to change a hotkey. It's all it takes. So yeah, that's the thing that I'm trying to say. So we're looking for key cards. That's what I'm trying to do here. But it's been really, really awful. There's no golden little containers for me. There's a shop back there that, if I recall correctly, I purchased the entirely wrong thing because I didn't want the stompers. It was like, oh, let's hit it here. Let's get this completely worthless item that I have no use for. Cool! Complete waste of money. Here I recognize that I will be in the dead end if I go right, so I go left so I can drop all the way to the downer area. Because I just really want to get a key card out of this place. I would really like to get 4, but there is no run that I've ever seen. The most I've ever seen is 3. And they were all bunched together too. It was really weird. I had 3 keycard containers all in a row. It was the weirdest thing. but I think it ended in misery and torment, so I've been... Oh yeah, I wasn't even commenting, I was playing Risk of Rain for the fun of it, because you hear me complain all the time, but this is a game that is really fun to play. So I just play it on my downtime whenever I have maybe like 45 to 1 hour, 30 minutes, or even if I only have 20 minutes and I know I don't even have time to finish the run, I'll still start. Because it's a fun game to play, and it really... the gameplay is really tight, it's very good controls. It is fun to see all your enemies explode. It always gives you that nice satisfaction of the next item that you get. Oh man, I got a really cool item. Makes your gameplay that much cooler. So yeah, it's a lot of fun to play even without commentary in mind. So yeah, you hear me complain all the time, but it's out of love. It's out of wanting to improve or just discussing game design. It's something that I very much like. I don't know if you are aware, I've said it before, but you know, I have all sorts of videos out there. I don't expect you to have an encyclopedic knowledge of everything I've ever said. I have been playing games since I was 2 years old, which is not an accomplishment for a kid that is born in this day and age. But when I was born, computers were an alien thing for maybe 95% of the population of the world. So I was very lucky to grow up in a family. My father is a professional programmer. He retired by now. He is retired, enjoying his life. The labors of all his, the rewards of all his labor, and very well deserved. But he was a programmer, was for 30 years, and I grew up with computers, and I feel so fortunate that I did, because I absolutely love PCs and just computer in general. Consoles, I also like them. I had my shared console growing up. I've never felt the love that some people have for console games, though. I am not against console gamers in any way whatsoever, but I am very much a PC guy. And I grew up with games. I remember just finishing games when I was 3 years old in my old MSX that I have played nowadays. I played today, and it's like, how the hell did I get through this game? That's insane. Here are Kung Fu 2. It's such a freaking hard game, and somehow I beat it. Anyway, that's a completely unrelated anecdote to Risk of Rain, but there's really not much going on right now. I'm just trying to kill all the enemies that I can, get all the money that I can, opening up all these things, still hoping for some kind of key card, but I think by now I am making the decision, you know what, I'm going to pass on all these stupid storage areas, and I'm simply going to do the last boss and hope that I don't die to the last boss. Because, as I've said before, I think that most players of Risk of Rain can agree, the final boss, it's not that hard, it is just tedious. It just takes a lot of time. And yeah, it is hard in the sense that if you don't have your guard up, and you don't dodge all the attacks coming your way, and you don't do what needs to be done to beat the game, you will die. But for the most part, it is just a war of attrition where you just gotta pow, 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 pew, 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 pew until the boss is dead. So yeah, that's yet another complaint I have about Risk of Rain. And all these complaints that I have about Risk of Rain, I'm sure you can tell that they're very minor things. There are things that, it's kind of annoying, but it's okay, it's worth it. You know, it's totally worth it to get the enjoyment that you get from the game otherwise. So yeah, I hope you don't take any kind of offense or any kind of like, oh man, you're totally wrong, you're an idiot, and you're a whiner and a bitch, and I hope you die in a pool of your own blood. I hope you don't have that sort of attitude towards all the things that I'm saying. I'm just trying to be constructive with my criticism of a game that I very much enjoy. And here we have the Providence fight, which I decided to simply go into because there was no golden key cards. I could not get any to spawn. Maybe there was some somewhere else, but the nice part of this, I have the gold-plated gun and a full load of money, so I'm doing a lot of extra damage. That yellow 29 that you see, and the 19, the yellow damage, I'm pretty sure all that yellow damage is all from the gold-plated gun. And it's actually, I think, possibly 50% of the base damage I'm doing, not counting the drones, of course. So yeah, gold-plated gun is a really good item if you have the opportunity to pile up the money. Although now I'm not certain. I think the 29 that you're seeing is actually infection. Yeah, the 29 you're seeing is infection. The gold-plated damage is whenever I shoot another drones, there's 3 columns of numbers rising. The 11 is the gold-plated gun that's happening right now. So still not as much damage as I thought that I was doing with that item. But still, I think it's pretty good boost to your damage. I mean, look at my base damage is, what is it, 26, 23? Around that range. So it's a boost of about 40%. Yeah, about 35% boost for having that gold plating gun whenever I shoot at Providence. So that's pretty good. I do have 2 of them, I believe. Yeah, I do have 2 of them. That's probably why instead of 9, it's 11. Because I think it works, it gives you 10% or maybe 8% baseline, and then it improves to a certain multiplier. I believe it has diminishing returns, just like most of the items. I don't know, some of them multiply, some of them add up. It depends on the item. I haven't actually explored the item list to actually know and learn exactly the percentages that every item gives you. Maybe I should give you a more encyclopedic knowledge of this game, make your time more worthwhile. In fact, it's actually a really good idea. I believe I should go and study the effects of all the items, so you get a little bit more bang for your buck. Watching these videos, you get to learn a bit more about the mechanics of the game and the exact worth of each item. A little bit of a Bisnap tendency there. He really knows everything about Binding of Isaac. Maybe that should be my thing with Risk of Rain. I don't know. I'll consider it. Here we have the Gilded Worms, which I have very recently verified that time stop does not work for the Gilded Worms. So yeah, we just gotta just shoot through them. Luckily we have our shotgun, we have our explosive shots. The Full Metal Jacket is a shotgun. I call it a shotgun because it feels like a shotgun. I'm sure it's just some kind of rifle shot, I don't know exactly. But we have a lot of penetrating and splash damage, so that makes the Gilded Worms go down a lot faster than they normally would. Still though, lots and lots of damage. I ate that laser almost completely. That was pretty bad. But still, you know, we have quite a lot of healing items. We're doing okay all throughout this fight. It's really not that big a deal to eat a laser to the face. One of the worms is done. Let's deal with this one. She's almost done as well. Look at that health just drops down like crazy. Infection does a lot against this enemy. So does the gold-plated gun. Lots of damage going all around. And now we have the ultimate grind against this guy. Dealing with the shadow version. And actually here is where you're going to see my health dropping kind of really low. It got really hairy towards the end of this fight. Which again, you know, I don't think it will lose any difficulty at all to be made a little bit shorter. And I'm pretty much relying now on the time stop, because otherwise if I stand still and shoot, I'm going to get creamed by Providence's attacks. And something I learned the other day that I have not verified, but if you get hit by not the purple attacks, but by the black attacks, the deadly, black skull attacks that he does sometimes, it will drop your health down to 90, I think. Either 90 or 10. It is some really low number if you get hit by one of those. So yeah, you might want to avoid them. Very much avoid those to the exclusion of all else. He does it a few times. He doesn't do it a whole lot. There it is. Yeah, those attacks, it will bring your health down to very, very low. And if you don't act right away, well, your run is over at the very end. That is very bad. Here, another time stop. That's the time where I just do a ton of damage. Just look at all that health dropping down like crazy. and then just go back to running around waiting for that time stop to go out of cooldown, getting some damage here and there, but mostly just running away from damage. That's just the way to kill Providence. You cannot sit still at any point, which is very... I don't see how... I mean, I'm sure that he can do it, but Handy would be such a pain in the ass to do this fight with. I have not gone that far with Handy at all. And I don't know if I even want to. Handy, I play a little bit more with him. I don't know, man, it's kind of boring. It's just walking around punching people. I don't know, it's just not a very dynamic character. I do like the whole combination of kill things and then shoot a drone which kill things and heals you. Is a very nice synergy there. But I don't know, man, it's kind of boring. Kind of like the Enforcer. The Enforcer is possibly the absolute most boring character you can play. It is okay. It's a really good character from a viability standpoint. And here's the Providence kill at last. And we have unlocked the Mercenary. So we have a lot of fun coming up. We're going to have some new characters to play with. It's going to be great. Those are my victory jumps right there. Gotta do it. Gotta do it. So much happiness. And so he left. With everything but his humanity. I guess that's totally true. You get so many disgusting... I guess there are genetic modifications and things you strap to your face and skull and your legs and arms to be more powerful, and then you play the ukulele and you're not human anymore. After you play an ukulele, you have become something else entirely. Oh, so that's another Risk of Rain victory. Such a nice way to unlock two characters in the same playthrough. There is the Miner and there is the Mercenary, which, by the way, both seem to be melee characters. And then, let me show you just how many runs of the Commando I've done. That's 9 runs. I've recorded, I think, maybe 3 or 4 of them, so that was 4 failures before I got this. So I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time. Until then, I bid you farewell.